Welcome back to True to Your Roots, folks. I'm the host, Tyler. Pleasure to see you all here again. And I'm joined today by a very special guest with the topic of winter well-being, but also covering aspects of grief through Christmas. So I will let my guests introduce themselves and then we'll get cracking.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Susie Smith. So I'm the Service Development Manager for Community Roots and have been leading the service and the creation of the service for the last 6 years. And I'm very proud of the team and all the fabulous things that they're bringing to you, including this podcast.
It's not every day you get to do a podcast with your boss. So, as I mentioned before, I do want to touch on grief through Christmas, because for everybody it is known as a happy time, a festive time, family comes together, but that isn't the case for everybody, and it's not nice. It's quite sad, and we both have experiences around grief through Christmas. So, tell me a wee bit about that experience. It sounds like a really intrusive question, I know, but lived experience is important for people to kind of create that connection.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think Christmas is a wonderful time for those that celebrate the festival, and I think my upbringing was always that Christmas is absolutely focused on family, and so when really important people in your family are lost, if you are grieving a loved one, it's that time of year where it really strikes you. So I lost my father 7 years ago on the 8th of November. And then last year, very sadly, I lost my mum on the same date, the 8th of November. And so obviously last year was exceptionally difficult because I had just lost both my parents, essentially. But I was really in that fresh grief, as I call it, so not quite able to understand exactly what's happened and still trying to get my head around it. And what I've found this year is, because I'm a year on, I've done all those 1 year anniversaries of having lost my mum. It's been even a little harder because I have children, and I almost see that it's now my role. I always think it's mum's role to make Christmas magical. And I learned from the best, but there's a lot of pressure to be Mother Christmas like my mum was. And so, I'm really missing her and missing both of my parents. And it's tricky because I don't want to be sad. I've always tried to look at grief as something where we celebrate somebody's life rather than, obviously we miss them, but rather than, trying to let those really difficult thoughts take over.
Challenging that really hard to deal with aspect, really. I mean, I don't have kids. But I lost my gran on Christmas Eve.
Wow.
Late night Christmas Eve. So we're all preparing ourselves for Christmas. We're doing the cooking. I'm late night wrapping presents for the nephews. It's like, oh God. And then we got a phone call, and it was just kind of Christmas done at that point. Like very sudden, abrupt. Because everyone was prepared. Turkey was getting cooked, lamb legs, all that sort of good stuff. Kids were upstairs waiting for Santa to come down the chimney, and that was it. That was kind of the end of that year's Christmas. But it's like you said, you're having to kind of, in essence, push forward, almost create that happy Christmas as an adult, and it is quite a difficult thing to put yourself through because you don't almost give yourself time to grieve at times. But I think in my own experience, because for us it is all about family, everybody tries to come together. They support you through that. You find yourself celebrating a lot more almost than you do giving yourself time to grieve. So I forgot about it. So it's only in the build up to Christmas that then becomes incredibly apparent. But the moment Christmas happens, it's almost like I go into another world completely. It's, I'm Santa, here's your gift. But it's not an easy process to come up to. I mean, Christmas Eve is next week, Tuesday. And that's there in the forefront of your mind. You can't let it go, really. Having that really close family support gives it the time to celebrate. We always bring her up every Christmas. We talk about to share those memories, our experiences, and it allows us to celebrate it. It's turned back into Christmas Eve. It's like she's there with us, giving us those gifts, those memories that we hold on to. So it is difficult, very, very difficult. And I don't think without the family support that I've got back up the clan up in Scotland, I don't think I'd end up getting through it. Christmas wouldn't be Christmas.
And I think that's it. And you know, it's not forgetting that there are a lot of people who still have those close networks, those families, friends, to lean on during, you know, difficult times, and to share those memories and try and make it more of a celebration. But I think we also need to be really mindful of the fact that there are people that feel really isolated, very alone at this time of year, especially if their, you know, their person, their loved one is gone. And I suppose what I want to say as part of the podcast is there's always someone there to listen. You know, there's professional services, there's Samaritans, but just reach out to someone, because I think with grief, what tends to come is we've both said it, we don't want to bring everybody else down. Yeah. It's that feeling, it's that stigma of, oh, well, if I'm going to feel a bit low around this, because it is a difficult time, I don't want to push that on other people. But actually having supported friends and family through this, as you naturally do, you'd rather that they speak to you. And you know, there's nothing wrong with having a bit of a cry. There's nothing wrong with being down. There's nothing wrong with staying in bed an extra hour because you just don't think you can function that day. That's fine. But it's being able to then see, right, okay, we can move beyond this. There is more we can do. The person that we've lost wouldn't want me to be stuck in this really dark place, and difficult place. So yeah, and it's tricky to remind yourself of that.
It definitely is.
It takes a lot of work, but yeah, surround yourself with people that will listen, because you'd be surprised by how many people are actually there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, just reaching out to people. I often say reach out to strangers. At the end of the day, they are easier to speak to sometimes than your family members. You know, I'm getting bosses here, there, and everywhere these days. Like, and I'll often, there'll be an older lady sat there, she's just kind of doing her own thing. Oh, good morning, how are you? And there's a 40-minute conversation. Before I know it, I'm in the bus station. I was like, oh God, it's gone past. But you don't realise it, and that's the beauty of that connection, just being able to talk. You know, she got some things off her chest, I got a lot of things off my chest, and at the end of the day, she was smiling, I was smiling. It felt great. I feel Christmassy.
I love that. And I love that about you. I love the fact that, you know, it's such a northern thing, isn't it? That we'll just have a conversation with a stranger on a bus. And yeah, I think, you know, there's something really impactful, but so small, just walking down the street and smiling at someone. You know, if someone looks like they've got having a really tough day, just hello. And that's all people need, really, to lift them sometimes. So yeah, be more Tyler.
It is infectious. I've learned that the hard way since being in the trust. So smile a day keeps the bad omens away.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a wee bit about grief. It is definitely a hard time, but hopefully if you are finding yourself in that period, just reach out to anybody, strangers, neighbours, if you need to, Samaritans and services. But just having that time to reach out to somebody will help you, and it'll allow you to enjoy that festive period. If you do festivities, a little bit easier, and you'll find that support will be there. You just need to reach out for it.
So this is a poem by Donna Ashworth, and it's called On Those Days. On those days when you miss someone the most, as though your memories are sharp enough to slice through skin and bone, remember how they loved you. Remember how they loved you, and do that for yourself. In their name, in their honour, love yourself as they loved you. They would like that. On those days when you miss someone the most, love yourself harder.
So talking about support, we've got winter wellness on the agenda here, don't we? So in the terms of Christmas, can you tell me what actually helped you get through that stage of grief, what sort of activities, things did you do throughout that Christmassy period that allowed you to go, Christmas is great?
Well, I mean, I think I mentioned earlier that we've always enjoyed really traditional Christmases. So, just the simple act of preparing the house, getting the tree up, putting the decks on. I'm obsessed with Christmas lights. That is something that my dad passed down to me. I would have the whole of Blackpool illuminations all over my house if I could get away with it. I can't afford the electric bill though, but just bringing those lights onto the house and in the house, and I love it. I love driving home in the dark and seeing everybody's lights on. That really lifts me. I see light as it's just something. It's like a medicinal purpose. I don't know what it does. And, I think last year, I know I didn't put my tree up until I think it was like Christmas Eve, literally, because I was really low and, it was very fresh grief, as I call it. And so I was like, I don't want to do this. But then I realised that actually Mum would have wanted this. Mum wouldn't want us to have wallowed. So being able to do that with the children this year a little bit earlier has put me more in that Christmassy festive frame of mind. And then it's just all the little traditions. We like to bake at Christmas. Every year, my daughter insists on baking biscuits for the neighbours. And so we've gone round and we've dropped off a Christmas card and a few biscuits each. And yeah, it's just those little family traditions that we keep alive in memory of someone important, but also making our own new ones. Because I definitely didn't bake with my mum. Not a baker. Shouldn't be put in charge in the kitchen.
Yeah. I mean, for us, it's Scottish traditions now, so it's a massive time of year for family. Now everyone's up there with me and my mum down here, so it's a very long distance trip to get up there, especially if we're doing it on Christmas Eve this year. So
wow.
a bit of a lengthy journey. But for us, it's bringing everybody together, sharing your stories, looking back throughout the year. And granted, for us, it's more Hogmanay than it is Christmas. Yeah. That's the more important part. And we use Christmas as a build-up to Hogmanay, so, we'll get the naughty things out of the way first, and then we'll actually sit around fires, share stories, tell people about our experiences throughout the year. And, you learn so much from just hearing those stories. And that's my favourite part about it.
Yeah.
I like stories. Fiction, non-fiction, I'm fascinated by them. So being able to just sit around the fire and listen to all these experiences, you learn so much through it. So for me, Christmas is more a time of, I get to learn more. Yes. And that's what builds, that's why I get so excited through this time. Yeah, that's why I like it so much. I'm not really like Christmas carols and all that kind of stuff. It's more the connection element for me that makes it Christmas, and that helps me get through like periods of drought, help me get through my grief amazingly. So it's quite nice to just sit around, listen to stories and go, same, amazing, and share that connection.
That sounds wonderful. I love that. And I mean, I think, that's the strength of connection, isn't it? Is that, when we do connect with others and when we have those brief or longer conversations or that really reserved time to just come together and be together, 9 times out of 10, it's a really lovely process to go through. I think it's important as part of the podcast to understand that there are some people out there that absolutely are not looking forward to having to come together in family units, because not everybody has that traditional family dynamic that we're so lucky to have. And I think my message there would be, don't put yourself through something that you are not comfortable with. Yeah. Christmas should be very much around reflection, but also, doing something that feels good for you. And I think it's only been in the last few years that I've suddenly realised that actually, if I keep myself happy, if I do the things that I need to focus on and to keep me well, then that naturally radiates to others. But when I put myself in positions that I really don't want to be in, that's when, my mental health, my well-being is really tested. So, if you're really not looking forward to certain plans, don't Do them. Don't put yourself through it.
I mean, it's that societal norm that Christmas, you've got to do X, Y, Z. You've got to jump here, get through that stage and whatnot. But sometimes it's all right to just, as you said before, sit in bed for an hour. You know, Christmas is for you and your family. But the important thing is also that you're included in that aspect of it. You know, 2 years ago, I didn't want to do anything for Christmas. So it was just another day, sat in bed, watched a film. I felt great.
Yeah.
Went downstairs with my mom, did a wee bit of cooking. Still had the turkey, man. That's very important. But that was it. That's what we wanted that year. And it's okay to have a smaller, where you can just spend it on your own. You don't need to give in to societal expectations if it's going to make you feel stressed, unhappy, upset, because that will then infect others.
And if we talk about like the 5 ways to wellbeing, I know that, you know, obviously connection's a huge part of that, but there's also giving is a huge part. And I think sometimes that can be misconstrued as to, you know, it's not about monetary gifts and things like that. It's giving your time, it's giving your wholeness to somebody else. And I know a few people, a few of my friends who have, you know, struggled with Christmas since losing someone important, or, you know, something has happened within the year and they don't feel right celebrating Christmas in the traditional way. They've volunteered because we know that there's a lot of charitable organisations, faith organisations that are really aware of the fact that there are very lonely people, isolated people struggling over this this period. And so they'll open, you know, community kitchens, the churches are open to receive people. And, you know, if you're in that position where you're thinking, gosh, what can I say to get out of this? You know, because I really don't want to go. Why not volunteer? You know, why not give something back to your local community? Because the feeling that will give you inside is the feeling of Christmas.
It's the gratitude that you'll get from it. Aye. So what we'll do is we'll have a list of activities that you'll see at the very end of this episode of things that you can get involved in throughout your winter period. So that includes December and January. So it'll be really good to kind of have a wee nosy at that. You can skip there if you like, don't worry, I won't be offended. And have a little look as to what you can get involved in. And if you do get involved in it, let us know. Let us know how it felt. Did you feel like you got something from it? It'd be really good to hear from you.
So this next poem, again, is by Donna Ashworth, and it's called Sadness Comes. Sadness came to tea last night, as she's often done before, but I didn't let her in this time. I stopped her at the door. I'm off to meet with friends, I said. Your timing isn't right. I can't allow your atmosphere. It's not the place tonight. But Sadness wouldn't take the hint. Her manners lacked finesse. Her pace was slow and heavy. Yet she kept up nonetheless. And even when I took my seat amongst my laughing friends, she squeezed herself right in between. Her boldness never ends. And I was sure my friends would loathe this spectre at the feast, and somehow think me lesser for inviting such a beast. But no, their warmth was undeterred, as if nothing was askew. I think perhaps they know by now I sometimes come as two. And even Sadness seemed to glow, a lighter shade of grey, to know that she's accepted, seemed to lighten up her day. So let your sad accompany you. Don't think her hard to hear. No need to face her all alone. Just pull an extra chair.
So, one more question for you, Susie.
Okay.
What is your ideal Christmas day?
Oh.
Ideal Christmas day.
Ideal, okay. Well, I'll be really honest. So, obviously, super traditional Christmases are always wonderful Christmases growing up and since I've had my own children. But since losing both mum and dad, we can't do it in the same way, because it was always like we'd go to my mum and dad's house, and then another year we'd go to my auntie and uncle's, and that was just how it always was. And we tried to replicate that as myself and my brother grew up, and we have lost a bit of that. So this year, for the first time in a long time, I'm having Christmas with my husband's family. So we've invited them all and we're hosting them. But I don't cook. as previously mentioned. So all the pressure to get everything right is very much on me, but the pressure of the cooking in the day is on Mike. So I said to Mike when I lost Mum last year, I said, I don't want to do any more Christmases in England because my children are a bit more grown up now. So there isn't that same pull to stay to make sure that Father Christmas obviously comes down the chimney, because the children realise now that Father Christmas can find you wherever you are in the world. So I suggested, because I'm a bit addicted to travel, I suggested that I'd like to do future Christmases on a Caribbean beach with a cocktail in hand and the sea lapping at my feet. So my ideal Christmas in the future, and obviously these are ideas way beyond my station. I'm never going to be able to afford to go to the Caribbean for a fortnight at Christmas. But my ideal Christmas would be with my small family unit on a beach, just away from all the hustle and bustle, and just doing it so differently, but still being in, a community of people where we can have a party.
The only question is, would there be a Christmas tree on this beach?
Oh, absolutely. I have it under great authority that there are Christmas trees in Jamaica. So,
see, it's interesting because ours are complete polar opposites.
Really?
I need snow on Christmas, otherwise it feels strange. I mean, having Christmas down in England over the last 10 or so years, look out the window and it's raining. Oh, great.
Yeah.
It's another Tuesday, like. But when we've gone up to Scotland for Christmas, it's like fields.
Yeah, because you're really northern Scotland, aren't
so
you?
Going up to Inverness and then cutting over to Aviemore, just at the bottom of the Cairngorms. And up that way at the moment, there are snowstorms. So by the time we're up for Christmas, we will have that sort of traditional in the sense of white-covered Christmas. I like the cold. I really like the cold.
We know you like the cold, yes.
So that, for me, just put me right in my element. There's snow everywhere. It's nice and cold, yet really wrapped up and warm. Get the fire really hot and going. And just being able to chill out in that environment. In essence, going home, for me, is the ideal Christmas. Yeah. Being able to sit out in a campfire, in the middle of the forest where all you see is snow, bunch of logs, bunch of people, fire, you're all roasting stuff. Oh, fantastic.
That does actually sound very, very nice. Yeah. Yeah. I think, okay, I can go with that. I think for me, a holiday where it's almost either assured tropical sunshine or assured snow, mega traditional. Yeah. I think that's lovely as well.
I got to bring Scotland back into this summer, don't I?
Oh, absolutely. It's a beautiful country.
Well, I thought it was a bit of a shorter one for you today. I know I overwhelmed you with the last section, so don't worry, we're not doing that today. As I said, we'll have some additional information coming up rather shortly for you to have a look at and get involved in some activities over the winter period. But if you have any questions, as always, pop them in the comments below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can do. But in the meantime, I wish you all Merry Christmas if you do Christmas, and most amazing Happy New Year's. And thank you very much, Susie, for jumping in and joining us today.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, everyone.